Welcome to Creepy Joe's Horror Show! With special guest, Slip Rick the Skeleton.
It's not my fault the babes like me, man.
Also, Flo.
Perverts.
And don't forget about your legendary loser host himself, Creepy Joe.
Welcome to Creepy Joe's Horror Show. Tonight we have Slime City from 1988.
Slime City is a 1988 science fiction comedy horror film directed by Greg Lamberson and starring Robert Sabin, Mary Hooner, and Bunny Levine. Alex and his girlfriend are looking for an apartment to move into. They then move into a rundown apartment in New York City. Their neighbor seduces Alex while his girlfriend is away. His neighbors provide him with a strange drink they call wine, and Alex proceeds to drink it. After the incident, Alex begins to shapeshift into a yellow killer slime creature called Zachary. He finds that the only way that he can return to normal is to commit murder. His girlfriend must learn the secret of the apartment and the brutal massacre that took place centuries ago.
Alright, Slime City is quite a treat. I mean, it's right up there for me anyway. In my generation, it's up there with Evil Dead 1 and 2. I mean, it's fantastic. This is probably, this is a great film. I don't review films that suck.
Heads up, pick a Bob.
Because, you know, maybe to some people, like, you know, some people that are real into, you know, real serious people, I guess you could say that, you know, someone that is, you know, a scholar for technique and the arts might say that movie's a piece of shit, but it's fantastic. Trust me, I wouldn't review it if it sucked. So, Slime City, 1988, written and directed by Greg Lamberson. And it's one of his early ones. You know, he did Undying Love in 1991. He also did, you know, he did a bunch of movies. You know, there's, what else did he do? I mean, he's known for writing and directing Johnny Gruesome later on in 2018. He also went on to do Slime City Massacre in 2010, which I haven't seen yet, you know, surprisingly, but, you know, I'm going to definitely check it out. You know, this movie is a movie that I've wanted to do for a long time, but it's a movie I saw a long time ago, but I just, you know, there's so many of them that it's hard to keep up with, but I figured I'd start this off by, you know, getting back into this with this movie because it's just so great. And, you know, starring Robert Sabin, if I'm saying that correctly. He's not very known. He plays Alex, and he also plays in I Was a Teenage Zombie in, I think, 1987. But yeah, Mary Hooner, who plays Lori and Nicole in the movie. He plays Alex's girlfriend, and he also plays, you know, the roommate that seduces him in the apartment that he moves into.
You must be the new tenant.
So anyway, we'll get to the story here. So it all starts out where Alex and Lori are looking for an apartment, and he's really trying to get laid, and it's not working out. So they're in New York, and they're looking at these crummy apartments, and he comes across this crummy apartment. It's actually not that bad for New York City, but in the movie it's supposed to be, like, you know, dingy, and he finds an apartment, and he thinks it's like an elderly place because, you know, the other actress, I'm gonna butcher this. It's Bunny. What's her last name? Bunny Levine. Okay, yeah, Bunny Levine, who also, she had a brief part in Law and Order in 1994. I don't watch that, but it's just a notable, you know. But Anyway, he rents off of her, and everything seems to be all right, and he thinks it's all old people until, you know, he runs into Nicole. And then he also meets Roman, who's another roommate, and they're all kind of weird, and they're like young punks or goths. I don't know what you'd call it. It's a mixture back then, but he ends up, you know, mixing with these people, and he ends up drinking this wine or eating this weird jello, whatever you would call it. It's like pudding, and it's green, and you know, Roman feeds it to him, and he says it's Himalayan pudding or something like that. I don't even quite remember. But he ends up eating it, and what it is, he ends up going back upstairs, and then the roommate, because he can't get laid from his girlfriend told him that as soon as he gets a place and they can be alone, that she basically bang him, and it's still not happening. She says she needs more time. So this roommate, it's not a roommate, but this neighbor, Nicole, who is also played by Mary Hooner. It's the same girl, but she just has a black wig on. And I mean, they do kind of look different. I didn't even catch that at first, but she ends up banging him out in the other room, and then he turns into this like gelatin guy. I mean, his face is all mangled and stuff. And no one, you know, you kind of don't understand what's going on. He wakes up all covered in slime and crap, and then he has to murder someone. He finds out when he kills this homeless guy that he turns back into a normal person. He starts to feel better. But each time his hair gets a little grayer and grayer. So it's really bizarre, but it is what it is, I guess. It's an 80s B horror movie. So this film lacks no, it spares no extra ridiculous, you know, gelatin gore. When there's a stabbing or there's a murder, it's excessive, it's ridiculous, and it brings you right back into that Evil Dead, you know, type of feeling, I guess. It's great. So he ends up getting in with these people, and he gets addicted to this wine stuff. There's bottles of it in the basement, and he starts putting it together that there used to be a cult in that apartment building, and when he turns into this gelatin guy, it's the cult leader Zachary coming back to life through him. And here, all of these people that are in the apartment building were former cult members that killed themselves, and they took over, like Nicole, the woman that seduces them. She was actually a hooker, and one of the, you know, dead cult members took over her body, and now she's Nicole. Her name used to be Elisa, he finds out. So it's just really bizarre. And they keep this like elixir stuff in the basement, this like drink, and they're all addicted to it, and every time they drink it, they have to go murder someone. You know, they go into this trance, and then they have to go murder someone, and then that's kind of that.
Ectoplasm.
That's what you think, you old witch.
And he ends up murdering, you know, quite a few people, and by the end, he tries to murder. He ends up murdering his friend, his best friend. He's played by TJ. Can't even remember. You know, these reviews are off the top of my head. No edits, no cuts, as you know. So I forget things sometimes. It's not important anyway, because I don't think there's even a picture of him on Google that I could pull up to show you. So, but he kills his best friend.
Yuck. And I thought my zits were bad.
He kills a homeless guy. He kills a couple other people. There's some like, you know, dudes hanging out in the back alley, and he runs into. They try to rob him, and you know, he rips the dude's arm off. But anyway, that's besides the point. You have to watch the movie. I mean, I'm telling you, you have to see it. And at the end, he tries to kill his girlfriend, and that's when the greatest scene of the movie, the most memorable scene, because I always like to talk about the most memorable scene for any movie that I see. The most memorable scene is at the end when he finally gets laid. He finally bangs out his girlfriend. She finally gives in, and then go figure, he tries to murder her right after.
Little girls shouldn't play with knives.
And she ends up, in the most ridiculous, the most ridiculous scene ever. She, cuts him open. And then his hot dogs basically fall out of it. Hot dogs and scrambled eggs fall out of his gut, and he picks them up, stuffs them back in. And then she cuts his head off, and then he's, the greatest scene ever. He's talking through the severed head that's clearly through a fake floor, and he's directing his body to murder her.
God's sake! Heads up, Ichabod!
No!
Tag, you're in!
She basically cuts all his limbs off, and then she stabs his head, and then his brain crawls out, and then she chops up his brain.
Die, goddammit!
And that's basically it. I mean, and then during all of this craziness, like during the duration of the movie, he's killing all these hookers and stuff as well. And I mean, those scenes are hilarious as well. He slashes the hooker's face, and she's just like, why would you do this to me? Her face is cut completely open, and she's just like, why would you do this to me? It's fantastic. So anyway, this detective starts trying to figure out who the killer is.
I think you were about the last person to see.
He's going and talking to everybody. He's talking to the girlfriend. He's talking to and he ends up moving into the apartment and taking his place. So ultimately, all the cult leaders, the girlfriend goes nuts after she chops up his brain and kills him. And so she's like in a catatonic state, I guess. And when the detective goes back to talk to the other cult members or neighbors at the end, they're all still alive. Nicole's still alive, Roman's still alive. They're all there. And he says, "Do you have any apartments available?" And he ends up moving in, leading you to believe that he takes Alex's place to bring Zachary, the cult leader, back to life.
Stop calling me Alex! I'm Zachary!
I know that's really confusing. It's bizarre. I had to watch it I've seen it like 10 times, but I never even really cared about the storyline because it's so ridiculous and bizarre. But to actually pay attention and know what's going on and follow the storyline, it doesn't even matter. I mean, let's just be real here. It's you watch it for what it is. The story doesn't even matter. But I guess with this being in the genre of 80s B horror movies, we could do my top 10. I don't even know if this is my top 10 80s horror, but B horror. Because there's a difference, man. There's good horror movies. I'm not going to bring Stanley Kubrick into the mix. But there's B horror, okay, like this. Okay, my top 10 80s horror, B horror. Well, first of all, let's rate this, because I like to give a rating. Even though my ratings don't mean shit, they don't matter. But this movie needs to be rated because it's awesome. And you guys should all go out and see it. And when I say go out and see it, that doesn't exist anymore. Click it on your Fire Stick or your Roku, whatever it is. It's on Tubi, so check it out.
I see naked bodies engaged in unspeakable acts.
For memorable scenes, I I have to say that, you know, the end part where she murders him, it's hilarious. But, you know, also Alex and Nicole totally have sex with their clothes completely on. And it's like a drawn out scene with like them banging it out completely clothed, which is hilarious. So, you know, you're not going to see any nudity or anything really inappropriate. And even the gore scenes, I wouldn't really call them gore because it's like jello and like mustard, I'm pretty sure. And hot dogs and scrambled eggs and maybe some pieces of ham, you know, so that's like the extent of it. But I'm gonna rate this an 8 out of 10 because it's that entertaining, and I'm probably like, I'll watch it again regularly. So, 80s beat horror movies. I'm gonna start with Chopping Mall, number 10, from 1986, because Chopping Mall, I mean, if you haven't seen it, see it. Number 9, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, from, I want to say that's from 1986, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it's 1986. Number 8, Solid, Reanimator, from 1986. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 1985, Reanimator. I know that because that came out a year before I was born, and that movie is awesome. But we're gonna say number 7. Man, this is tough because there's so many of them. I mean, there's hundreds of B movies, but we'll say number 7. One that pops into the top of my head, From Beyond. I don't know if you guys have seen From Beyond, but you should definitely check that out. And I think that was made in 1986. Was it? Okay. And then we'll say Night of the Comet from 1984. Night of the Comet. That's a fantastic movie as well. We're gonna go with Brain Damage from 1988. That's a fantastic movie. All these, you know, I'm just sticking with the 80s because there's plenty from the 70s and 90s as well. But Class of Nukem High from 1986. That's one of the most memorable. That's a great movie. Street Trash, 1987. I can't leave that one out. That's a great movie as well. I think we're at.
You're at 2, man.
Number 2. Okay. One that I don't know. It's tough, but I'd say Scarecrows from 1988. That's I don't know. I grew up watching that, so that's one of those movies that, you know, it's always going to be funny to me. And then for number 1, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like I can't, and it is a B movie. Like I don't care what anyone says, but Evil Dead from 1981. That's my favorite movie. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. You know, so of course it's going to be my number 1 for 80s B movies. But anyway, thanks for hanging out, and until the next one, stay creepy.
Killer!